What's up, beautiful people? This is Fearfully Fit Podcast, and my goal for you is to develop a healthy mind, body, and spirit. I'm going to be sharing with you an in-depth look into how I lost over 100 pounds and had a total life transformation. I want you to be fit in all aspects of your life because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. What's up, beautiful people, and welcome to Fearfully Fit Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I have two very special guests. I have my big brother, Timothy, hey, and the beautiful Candida.
Aw, hey.
She's nervous. Okay, so I decided that I'm going to start off my episodes with a weight loss tip. I think that would be really beneficial. Next week, I won't have one because it's already pre-recorded, but I'm going to start it off this week. So a Rona weight loss tip is it's very important that you get into a routine because all of our routines are out of whack right now. We waking up whenever we want to wake up. Well, I technically can't because I have to clock in at a certain time, but I could still do all my work from bed. So it's really important that you set a time to wake up, set your alarm clock. Even if you're not leaving the house, make sure you're taking a shower, brushing your teeth, getting dressed, just going through the phases. And it helps with not overeating because you feel more productive when you're being more active. So set like how you would usually eat lunch if you were at work. Set aside a time to eat lunch. Set aside a time to eat breakfast and dinner. And just really set a routine to your day, and it's going to become a little bit more structured. So you won't feel like all day long you can just eat because you're working from 9 to 12. And then, at 12, okay, let me clock out and I can eat lunch. And then you go back to work. And don't, I'll save that tip for next time. But okay, so that's tip number one. Make sure you have a routine. Okay, so I'm going to start it off. Before we get into the episode with a would you rather question to get the guests a little bit more comfortable. So would you rather during this quarantine only be able to eat cake or only be able to eat ice cream?
Oh, I don't like cake or ice cream.
Ew, really? Why?
You just illed me.
And shit, because it's so good.
Well, I don't really eat any dairy products. I'm still working on cheese. God help me. And cake, I don't know. I just don't like, I don't know.
Dang. What about you?
Is it one specific cake?
No, it's any type of cake, any type of ice cream.
Ice cream.
Why?
I was going to say ice cream.
I don't know, because I feel like you can, I don't know, I like ice cream better than I like cake.
I would choose ice cream too because I feel like cake is just so...
It's heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Okay, I could do vegan ice cream.
You can do vegan ice cream.
It stays in the freezer for a long time and then it gets freezer burn. So either way, I waste it.
Have you had Van Leeuwen's?
Mm-mm.
Ah, it's so good. You live in Brooklyn, you haven't had Van Leeuwen's? Look it up. It's really good. They have like the best vegan ice cream. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now let's get started into the episode. We are going to, it was a request to do a topic on the different stages of a relationship, mainly with millennials and how we date nowadays, as far as like the talking stage, and then, how long should the talking stage be before you start dating. If you guys hear noise in the background, it's my baby Mia, my cat, so please excuse her. But so we're going to start off the episode with that. So what are your opinions on the way that millennials date as far as the talking stage? And then what's the difference between a talking stage and then when you're actually dating someone? And then do you ask the person like, hey, you're going to be my girlfriend or you're going to be my boyfriend? Or do you just smooth into it and it should be expected, okay, we've been talking for this amount of time, so now we're dating?
You gotta ask me.
What?
Ask. Are you gonna be
you have to ask you?
Sure.
I agree. I told Carl, who's my boyfriend, I said that he had to physically ask me. I said, don't assume that we're dating. And it was so cute. He left me a voice note to ask me. It was so cute. But what do you think, Timothy?
Which part are you asking me?
what, as far as the talking stage and then the dating stage, do you feel like it needs to be said that, okay, we're boyfriend, girlfriend now, or you think it's just better to just smoothly go into it?
I think both. I think, she is jumping. I think that you should, I think naturally it happens when you start to become, secluded to one person and you feel like, okay, this is the only person I'm talking to, dating, getting to know. And then I think, yes, you should still be formal and ask, hey, do you want to be my girlfriend? Or can you be my girlfriend?
Well, how long is too long to be talking? I actually hate the talking stage because I feel like during that talking stage, men tend to drag it. And it's like, how long do you talk before it's like, okay, now we're together?
Well, I won't say it's men. I would say it's a mentality, or I can't even call it an age difference because some older people have adopted some really stupid habits. I think it's a maturity thing. I think if you walk into a situation saying that you want to get to know a person without restriction, without doubt, without fear, without any hidden agendas, it shouldn't take long. Because when you really try to get to know a person with intent, you're not trying to figure out if you really want to do this or not. What you do is you take yourself and you have focus with a person and you say, well, my intent on talking to you is to get to know you. It's the same concept I think is stupid when you meet a person is like, oh yeah, I think you're attractive and whatnot and woo-woo, and I want to just, let me get your Instagram. I'm not finna ask you for your Instagram.
I actually find that so unattractive. I hate when guys ask for an Instagram as the contact
information.
Guys,
no, it's not fair because some women to say, like, you'll ask, oh, can I have your number? No, but I can give you my Instagram.
It's because they're not really interested.
No. But what does Instagram do?
Because people feel like in some cases your Instagram tells a lot about you, which is really stupid because your Instagram tells what you want it to tell.
Instead of checking you out first.
Right. So it's like, let me see what you got going on. If you got a girl, if you got a man, if you work. Oh, she is doing something so different. Cute. So I think at that point, it's better to be upfront. And then you also got to know if you're available to date somebody.
Right.
True.
Because if you're not really available to date a person, then the way you move about it is different. Mm-hmm. So I think that varies. But I think formally, yes, you should actually just ask, hey, would you want to be my girlfriend?
I think a lot of times where girls go wrong, like how we get caught up and hurt in that talking stage, is because we allow sex to come into it. And you give too much in that talking stage, and it appears as if it's a whole relationship. You know what I mean?
But you gotta learn to separate the two.
Right.
Emotion is emotion and sex is sex.
Women can rarely
merge the two, then you have a problem.
Why is this always about women giving up sex?
No. Why? I didn't say women, honey.
No, Summer said woman.
And genuine.
Summer said when women give up sex.
Because it's usually the girl who's, not all the time, but it's usually the girl who's like, well, what are we? And we've been doing this for how long now? How come we're not more serious? And usually it's because, like, they've given too much before the man said, I'm willing to be something more.
Okay, I kind of agree, but then I kind of don't. Because I feel like women nowadays, they don't take down that same mentality. Women nowadays can have a motive. Oh, I'm just going to deal with him, girl, because he going to buy me food today.
Oh, that's nasty.
Real quick. Women will do that.
It's so funny because my friend just said, I'm not going to say her name, but she just said last night, she was like, yeah, I know it's not going to be much, but I'm just going to enjoy the food.
Right.
But she only said that because she likes him. He said that he doesn't want anything serious. So then she said, I'm just going to enjoy the food.
But she should not. because she's gonna end up getting attached.
Yeah,
and it's gonna end horribly for her, and he's just gonna be
But now, see, in situations like that, he was upfront. So he's upfront with it, like, hey, listen, I like you, you cool, but I don't necessarily want something that's serious. Now, the question now is, when do you say, hey, listen, let me step off this?
Who, the girl?
Either party, because it can go either way. But in this particular case, when does she say, you know what? I like him. He thinks, there's a connection or we're cool. But for whatever his personal reasons, because it's not always about playing the game. A person could have been hurt and not just ready to deal with another person on that level. So when do you differentiate it being you playing a game or, hey, I've been hurt. I don't want to... I can't really go there right now. Because now he's being honest and it's being taken as, a G or a game. Now, if she continues to want to deal with him and he's like, okay, cool. You still want to go out, you still want to chill, or whatever the case might be. Whose fault is that now? Did he play you? Is it a game? Or were you naive thinking that you could change him? Because a lot of women do that. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yeah, he's like that, but... if I just kind of stick around or if I kind of show him I can be different than these other women.
I agree with that.
That is really messed up.
I think that a lot of times I'm just going to say girl because I'm the girl. We stay in the situation way too long knowing that we want more and we're not going to get more. But like you said, feeling like we can change them, or just like that what if factor, like what if I just hang in there a little bit longer, and then they'll finally want me like I want them.
But then there's also the case of people not looking for a total package, but just needing a certain portion of a person. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, okay, well, cool. I'm dealing with you. I know you don't want to be with me, but you're sweet to me. So I'll just deal with you because you're sweet to me, because I never had a man who was sweet to me.
Yeah.
I don't really care. They always end up falling.
Yeah, that does happen. You end up falling in general, but there's...
To someone that's unavailable?
That happens because...
That's crazy.
It's stupid, but people do it because they want to fill a void. And a lot of times that happens because people they can't be happy within themselves.
So let me ask you a question. As a woman, right? Me, a woman. If you tell me you're not available and I'm like, oh, but he's so nice, I'm still going to pursue him. And then eventually you're going to find someone else. And then I'm still left with a void, an even bigger void. So why would I put myself in that predicament to be hurt?
That thinking, it sounds so rational, but it's a lot of, we just don't think like that. We really go into it thinking like, okay, or we'll try to trick ourselves into thinking we won't be as hurt. Like, oh, I don't really care. I'm just doing this for fun. I'm just doing this for attention.
Okay, so I can't really. But
oh yeah, no names, because know the entire world. I don't want anyone to listen to this name.
But I know someone where they wanted to be a man's equal in the quote unquote game, right? And the reality is that I told them, I said, women were never built to be heartless. Mm-hmm. It's not what a woman is built to be. Anything about a woman is always built to receive and cultivate and to grow. So you're not built to plant and move.
I asked someone once, I forgot who I asked, but I said, is it because it wasn't a sin to have more than one wife until the law said it was.
Right.
So do you think it's just not... It's not... I don't know how to word it.
Is it natural?
Is it natural for a man
to be able
to want... Yeah, to be able to move like that? Now... Yeah, did God create them for it? Well, no, because then sin came into the picture. So is it? But it wasn't sin. God didn't say it was sin. It wasn't wrong until the law said. So if the law never says it's wrong, If you move somewhere where polygamy is not against the law, is it wrong then?
Is it wrong then? I mean, well then if it's being scripturally based, then no.
No what?
It's not to deal with multiple women if you're talking about being scripturally based according to what is right and wrong. Now, I personally feel like it is too much to have that deep of an emotional attachment to more than one person. I honestly believe that you cannot be in love with more than one person. So, to me, that uncontrollable, undeniable, unrestricted love, I feel like you can only have with one person. You can't have that with multiple people. The reason why I say that is even back in those days where the king had many wives and many concubines, the majority of the time, there was always a queen. There was always a queen. There was wives, concubines. There was only one queen. There was never more than one queen. So, and even going a step further back, when you look at Adam and Eve, right? God could have very well made 6 Eves. True. Why did he only make one? And then the significance of the one was God spent so much time with Adam, right?
Right.
Years and years and years. And the way they calculated years was different than we. But you're talking about years that he spent. Adam was the only man to ever get to see God in his true image. He didn't see Jesus. He saw God. Mm-hmm. Right? He sat with God in the cool of the day every day. Now you see how deep we get attached to a person when you talk to a person on the phone every day. Mm-hmm. Right. Imagine there's nothing else but you, God, and matter. Right? Mm-hmm. You get that close to him and God still looked at him after all those years and said, it's not good for man to be alone. How are you alone? You have the deity. You have God himself. And God still looked at you and said, you're alone. And of all the things he could have made Adam, he could have made Adam anything. Of all the things he made him, what did he make him? One woman. So now the significance of what that one woman does for that one man, if you look at the beginning of our purpose, when it came to man and woman, there was 1 and 1. It was not 1 and 5. It was not 1 and 10.
So do you think sin is the factor that came in to make men different?
Well, I guess going back on the statement, really looking at it, it could be greed.
Because like for instance, women, we were always going to be nurturers.
Right.
It's just now after the sin, the pain came along with it.
Right.
But were men, is that what changed of why men are able to move like that? Just can mess around. Not all men, obviously, but 97.8% of them are able to cheat and mess around and having whole different relationships and families. Is it the sin that brought that type of move in there, that they can move so carelessly?
And when you say the sin, you're talking about when they ate from the tree.
Right.
Right, when they acquired knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know if that was the turning point for man, because I really haven't dug into what was the marital status between Adam and Eve after sin came about. Because still at that point, it was still only Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that was particularly the case. I feel over time greed has seeped into the heart of man. So men can be greedy. So it's like, I have this, but I want that. Mm-hmm. Look at what's his name? It wasn't Samson. It was David. Mm-hmm. We looked at with Delilah, mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
He looked upon her. You knew she belonged to somebody else. You knew she belonged to somebody else. Not only did she belong to somebody else, she belonged to somebody else that fought in the army that you were in charge of. And because of your greed, you sent him to die. Mm-hmm. So you can have her to cover up your greed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's how extensive greed can get. So now it's like, yeah, she's fine. She got everything I want. But you know what? This one, her booty a little bigger. Or this one, she got this. So, you know, I can have this in this borough, and I can have this in this borough.
And greed is a sin. So is it the consensus that it's sin brought into the picture of what made men be able to move that way?
I guess you could say that. If greed, yeah. Sin is what caused the corruption of the original order of what a family was supposed to be.
So how, I could be wrong then, but then so why didn't, but does God show any type of anger towards the men that had more than one woman?
I think that was societal as well. You know, like you said, there are some places even today where polygamy is still legal. You know, we still have to obey the laws of the land. So the law of the land was that was what you could do. Now, I haven't dug too deep into it, but the majority of times when you hear about wives and concubines, they're mainly talking about kings. You really don't see a common man being, like, if you look at Mary and Joseph. Joseph was only married to Mary. He didn't have multiple wives. So I don't know if that was a thing that was, you know, granted amongst kings only, or if it was something where all men could partake in that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's conditional, and I think nowadays, because enough people don't do the history to know where it derives from, but I think now there's so many different avenues as to why you would entertain more than one person. But yeah. I think a large part of it nowadays is because, for one, people aren't honest with each other. Mm-hmm. So if you're with a partner and they don't do something that fulfills you, instead of you talking to them without tearing them down, without degrading them, without making them feel less than, what you do is you tolerate it because they might do X, Y, and Z.
Okay, you're preaching.
Hey, listen. Okay, I done been through some life, huh? You hear me, kitty? You hear me, Mia?
Been through it.
She hear me because she breathing calm. So, you know, people, men, I speak saying men choose to pull and pick from different areas because it's like, you might not be doing that, but you do this for me.
Right.
So it's like, I know somebody where their wife got a good job. Mm-hmm. Good job, right? Good wife, solid. But I look at her, I look at the women he's been with, and I can look at his eyes and be like, she don't do that for you.
The wife don't.
The wife don't do that for you. She don't have the look.
Okay, so now that you bring up look, I'm gonna move into the second part. When you're seriously, you said you're in the vein?
I'm in the vein.
That means he's on point. So when you're seriously dating and when you're married, and is there a difference of what I'm about to say, does your partner have a right to dictate like what you wear, and I'm trying to see how to word it, how you look, so your weight too. So I'll say, for instance, I used to be obese, right? My current boyfriend didn't meet me when I was obese. And he's not attracted to big women. And I knew that when we started dating. So now, is it unfair of me to now expect him to love me if I were to become obese again?
Deep. That's deep. That's deep right there.
Because a lot of people say, like, well, you need to love them no matter what. Yes, and I guess it changes when you're married because you take vows. Mm-hmm. But do you think it's your partner's responsibility to be like, to keep up a certain image for your partner?
Well, see, for me, if I love you, I love you. Big, fat, skinny, sick, not sick, broke, money, I'm gonna love you regardless. Mm-hmm. And once I love you, I'm going to be attracted. Well, if you're breathing a little heavy and you can't keep it up, I'm like, honey, you're going to have to, we got to go for a run in the morning together. Okay? We both losing it. Let's go take a jog. Okay?
Let's go around the block.
And do you think you should say that in dating and marriage too? Like, it's okay for your partner to, like, encourage them? Like, in both?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I'm all for health, right? I'm not the healthiest, but I am into health. So I would want whoever I'm going to be with to be healthy as well.
See, even when I was bigger, I've never been attracted to big men. Like, I can't. I just don't. I'm not attracted to big men. Even when I was big.
When you say big,
like fat.
Okay.
Not bulky, stocky, but like literally fat men.
Okay.
Overweight.
Gotcha.
I've never been attracted. So I can love you, but then
See, that's
I
deep.
won't be
Now,
attracted to you, though.
Does love supersede attraction?
Then I think it depends on how long you've been with them. Because if you got some years invested, I think it can.
If you don't like a big man, that means that they weren't big when you met them. In order for you to even give them a shot. So now then, if you've been with them for a while and they become big, then it's like, oh, my love for you supersedes my attraction for you.
I would still love them, but I would tell them they need to lose weight.
Right.
I don't know if I would word it to say that I'm losing attraction, only if it came to the point where they're not putting in any effort, and I've tried very, gentle. I've tried different ways to encourage them, and they're still not losing the weight. Then I think I would be honest enough to say, I'm losing attraction because of that. But I wouldn't leave them.
And now at that point, do you think it's fair for the person to then say, listen, the person that loves me has been trying, they're saying they're losing attraction, I need to get up and do something?
Do I think what?
The person should then try.
I think that when you're in a loving, respectful relationship, when a person is coming to you with an issue, I think it's your responsibility, and especially if they didn't meet you that way.
Right.
I think it's unfair of you to change so drastically and be like, still love me the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know that's not how they met you, and you know that's not what they're attracted to.
But now, okay, so then that has to deal with weight. But say you dial it back to something like hair. Is it wrong for when a man meets you, you doing the whole curly natural thing, and then you want to go and you want to get a little weave, and you come in the house and he's like, what's this mop on your head? Now, is he wrong to say, take it off?
You got to wait 3 months, okay?
But then
I dragged it. But give me a month.
Because I know for me, like, with mommy, growing up, she never wore weave.
Right.
She never wore weave. She never wore makeup. She never really got her nails done. And, with her, I guess you could call it a natural beauty. Growing up, that's what I thought was beautiful.
Okay.
And then mommy, her weight has fluctuated, but I always thought mommy was extremely beautiful. So growing up, I was like, well, I don't like no girl that wear a whole bunch of makeup. I don't want her to wear weave like that. Like, I just want you to...
Men love saying, not you, but they love saying that, but that's never what their girl looks like.
Well, yeah, but that's true. But I think what it is that it's a good tall tale to say. But my thing was, as I got older and being an older man now, I realized that those things for some women make them feel like a woman. Women like to, I guess for lack of better words, play in makeup. They like to feel pretty sometimes. So they do that as part of the routine of being a woman.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
Okay, so natural hair is a lot to keep up.
Okay? It is. I have learned that.
And if you're playing it too much, it starts to break. So then that's why you get weave, so you get braids, so you get wigs. See, I'm a wig person. These braids come out, I'm with my little twist out, maybe a week, then I'm putting on my wig.
I'm right there too.
Because it's a lot of upkeep. You gotta wash it, you gotta keep it moisturized, and you gotta twist it every night. It's too much.
Well, I will say this.
Unless
the difference was there's a whole wave
to go back to the question you originally said, are you saying that is it okay for a guy to be like, I don't like that stuff even if the woman likes it?
Right. If you're talking about on a weight perspective, if you're saying like, hey, you know, I don't like a big man, is it okay for him to be like, well, I don't like a woman that has a whole bunch of makeup and hair and weave?
Okay, so I'm going to use myself as an example because that's what I know. Carl doesn't really like weave. Like, he hates the weave down the back. He hates when it looks like weave. He doesn't really care for braids. He kind of likes dreads because it looks, you know, like that natural look, but he just loves it natural, which he knows. But he also knows I work out a lot, and it's just unrealistic for me to wear my hair natural all the time because it would just sweat out constantly. But I do find myself being more conscious of the types of weave that I wear because I do want him to look at me and be like, you know, be attracted, like what he sees.
Right.
So if he's not liking what he sees, that, for me, that takes the enjoyment out of those hairstyles.
Right, true.
Right.
I agree.
So, I mean, all women aren't like that, but because I love a weave down the back. But if I know when he's looking at me, he's like, oh. Right. I'm like, it takes the excitement, the joy out of me wearing it. Right. I don't even feel that cute anymore.
Because the reality is you look good for yourself, but the next person in line is you want to look good for him.
Right.
You know, so it's like, if you're like, oh yeah, and then he's like, then it's like if everybody else thinks you cute, but the one person you trying to get attention from don't want to give you the attention. It's like.
But I also feel like if it's a deeper issue, if like your man is saying, I don't like all that weave and I prefer you to be natural, but you know your girl for whatever reason doesn't feel pretty in her natural state, I do think then is part of the man's responsibility to be like, all right, when she come in here natural, I'm gonna hype her up, not in a joking, sarcastic way, but making sure you're complimenting her just a little bit more when you see her in natural. Or even offering to be like, you know, do you have the funds to go to the natural hair person to keep your hair up? I'm going to help contribute towards that.
Well, that's a lot of money.
Well, it is a lot. They're very expensive. A cut and color is like $130.
Okay, they're expensive.
I'm bald.
It's disgusting.
But you know what? And that's another part of it. I don't feel like you can have that much say if you're not financially going to help. I'm sorry. I can't tell you I hate the way you get your nails done. And you paying $30 to get them done every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If I want you to get them done another way, I'll pay for it. It's almost like, yeah, you respect my opinion. And I think this kind of caught me off guard in life as well, where people mistake where you are in life. The privileges that I get, the say-so that I get as a husband, you don't get as a fiance. And the say-sos that you get as a fiance, you don't get as a boyfriend.
Well,
it's because my thing is people, it goes back to what you were saying where you give too much.
But can you really give too much when you're a fiance?
Yes.
Really?
Because I feel like you're still working towards the I do. You can still turn around and say, I don't want to do this. And I've had a broken, failed engagement. So I know what it is to be at that space.
You did.
So I know what it is.
Sorry.
I know what it is to be at that phase but not be the husband. You see what I'm saying? Like there should be a difference. And prime example, the biggest, easiest example is like for you and Carl, for an example. Carl does not have access to your body until he says, I do.
Right.
As your fiance, y'all can have the date. You could be down to the week before, but you said, I don't want to do that until we say I do, so he still doesn't have access. Certain things, even legal from a legal perspective, you don't have access to until you say I do. There's a reason, because there comes extra going into a favor when you say I do. The Bible says a man that findeth a wife, not a fiance, not a girlfriend, obtaineth favor. So you don't get that pocket of favor until you say I do. So I think we have to be careful, because dealing with the overall topic, I feel like you can have an opinion, but I don't feel like you have a say so.
You think this? So okay, back to the hair. When you're just dating, I'll say courting, just so you like a serious dating, and then like fiance status, you think you can have an opinion on this is how you should wear your hair, but then once you're married, then it can be a command?
And I don't feel like a command. I don't. Because that almost seems like a dictatorship or chauvinistic, and I don't like that. I feel like once you get married, if I say, hey babe, or we're having conversation, you should have enough conversation to know what your person likes. Right. It shouldn't have to be, and that's another thing, people don't have enough conversation. Just talk.
Right.
Hey, what do you think about this? Oh, I don't like this. Or even when you're watching a movie, pay attention to what they say. You can even ask, if you want to find out what your man like, and watching a movie. Ooh, what you think of her hair?
Right.
Just to see what he say.
Mm-hmm.
And he won't even be thinking about it. He'll be like, oh, no, that's cool. Or, don't do that. She look terrible. From there alone, without you even making the awkward conversation, you could then find out like, okay, he like that, he don't like that. Or I do believe in supporting and being the biggest cheerleader. So you should always support and compliment your person before anybody else does.
Absolutely.
When they coming out the house, baby, you look amazing. Yo, you look fly. Okay, oh my God. Because what happens is, if you don't do it, especially with social media, somebody else will. Mm-hmm. Now you mad because somebody else got the first heart eyes when you should have given the heart eyes at the house. Absolutely. You can't control what people post. You can't. You can't control if somebody else. Now you can have an attitude with how they respond. But you cannot control what people come on, and especially with the Explore page and hashtags and all that. Somebody could see your man posting like, oh, he got a beard. Oh, beard gang. Oh, double tap.
What's an Explore page?
Woo.
Yeah, she don't have, Candida doesn't have social media. Really, rare form.
It's pretty much like how would I put it?
It's like the popular search page. Like when you're looking for movies, mm-hmm. and if you go to like the homepage, all the popular movies will pop up.
Gotcha.
It's like all a lot of with a lot of likes.
Okay.
Those pictures will pop up.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of social media, so one episode, Kim and Kanye had got into it a little bit because his new faith, and he have you guys seen that clip when they was talking about pictures? Okay, so he said you're too revealing in your pictures.
Right.
I heard said, yeah. You met me like this, and
right.
I do this for work, and just because you're on this new journey, it's ridiculous for you to think everybody should be on this new journey.
Right.
What do you think about that? Like, do you think he had a right, knowing that this is how he met her, and this is what... Well, I'm not going to say this is what she has to do for work, because she absolutely doesn't. She can never put out another thing and still be filthy rich. But knowing that this is how she is, before his journey started, do you think he has a right to now say, because he is on a new journey, be like, listen, I don't like that no more? And do you think she has a right to be like, no, I've been like this?
I think they both have a right, but they both have to be considerate of each other.
Right.
So, if you're my husband and I know that you're taking this new walk, then I have to be conscious of what I am doing, or maybe say, hey, honey, I'm about to post this picture. I heard what you said last week. What you think? I took 2 options. Okay. Now, I still got to make money. I still have to put this out. One is a little subdued. The other one is a little bit raunchy. But then he also has to be mindful that is what she does for work, and that is how he met her. And old habits are not easy to break. It's her lifestyle.
I think that happened because of a lack in conversation. Because if he was involving her in his lifestyle change, his mentalities, what he's going through spiritually, what's happening, he said, every time he's having a tug of war in his spirit, yo, babe, this is what I'm thinking, yo, baby, this is what, she would understand his process. What I feel like that showed was the fact that they don't communicate. Because I felt like he steered off to the left and was having all these and conflicting this and conflicting that. Right. And then came to this revelation and never included her until he got there. And then looked at her like, well, this is what I'm representing. You got to represent this. That's not fair.
Yeah.
That was wrong. And the reality is that in their case, dealing with superstars and whatnot, yes, it is very true that she could not do anything else. But the reality is her walking out of her house is a job. So what happens now is if she then starts wearing full-on sheets, guess what all of her followers are going to do? Wear sheets. It's not the same. It's not the same as an average person.
Not to get... okay, I have a question because I thought it was interesting. Okay, anyways, but before I ask that, I do think that when it comes down to faith, when you have a difference of faith, you just have to be really careful because I don't think it was fair of him to expect her to get along the ride. Like, I think it was okay that he tells her, like, this is how I feel now, and I'm no longer comfortable. But I think it was unrealistic for him to think, if he thought, okay, because now I'm on this journey, she's going to automatically just be like, okay.
What is this journey, though?
I guess his spiritual...
He said he's saved. Who is he serving?
But, okay, so to go along
saved
that,
by who? Wait, hold on. We got to go back to that.
Jesus Christ.
But her mom is a minister.
Who?
Kris Kardashian is definitely
a minister. Where? In whose church?
In the Lord's house.
Whose Lord's house?
Really?
Yes.
What Lord's house?
Yes, she's an ordained minister.
At whose church?
That's for play.
Listen, I'm just telling you.
I don't know who her bishop is. Who her bishop? Who her right reverend?
She's a bishop.
Oh God.
Kanye's her pastor.
Hallelujah.
Right.
No, but she's a minister.
Okay,
so I don't know.
I don't. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's. But to go along with that, right? I recall like when we do the fast at church, right? They've asked that you refrain from food, and that if you're married, you refrain from any sexual activity, right? But if I'm not mistaken, Bishop, don't kill me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, Bishop did say for those of you who are married to someone who is unsaved, if they ask you for that, you tell them your standpoint, but you are not to deny them. And the reason being is because your first obligation is to your husband. People get that really messed up at church. Your first obligation is to your wife or your husband. I'm fully active at the church. I do X, Y, and Z. But God's willing, when I get married, if my wife don't feel well, I'm not coming. Don't look for me. Tim, I'm not making it. I'm staying at home with my wife.
Oh my God.
I'm staying at home.
I think
home
when it's like you're silly.
Is you with me?
I'm staying home. I watch the live stream. That's why we're doing all of this, for it to look nice.
Streaming for drums.
But you're also, Timothy, you're saying that very lily-dilly now. Where you're the drummer, you do with sound, you not coming to church is very impactful. It's not like me not coming to church.
But that's why he has to find a wife that will be able to support that.
Yes. Which goes into, I think when it's real love and respect, you're not going to really come into much issues, because even if she doesn't feel well and if she knows that you are a crucial, unless it's like life or death, she can't move, like we in COVID right now. she's not gonna, if she respects you, she's not gonna say stay home,
Exactly.
knowing that the church needs you to be there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's
You
on a
know?
matter of like a common code, but I think I know some people where children have resented their dads, mainly their fathers, because they put ministry above family. And I know a couple cases like that, and that's where I'm saying it's out of line. Because your family, your home needs to be taken care of first.
True.
You cannot function in ministry and be up there and trying to lead people and serve and put your hands on this and that and the third, and you go home and then your family is disarray. Mm-hmm. That does not make sense to me. You have to prioritize because the Bible is very clear on order. Some people don't even realize that your wife comes before your children.
True that, but I actually think that case is more, I think women tend to be like Jesus zealots and like put faith above because they truly love Jesus and they think God is calling them to do all this extra before their family. I think men tend to do that. Obviously not everybody, but I think men they're trying to escape something from home. So they put more effort into the other thing, not because they love Jesus so much. So they're just like, let me go to church and bump my family. I think women tend to be like, God is calling me to do this.
Be heathens, huh?
So I think there's just a difference, like in emotion or reasoning behind it. But I do agree with that. Family comes first. So now my question, I saw this on a show. Do you think that it's more important to like the same things as your partner or to like your partner? And what I mean by that is, I had a really good conversation about it. I don't want to forget the details. Is it more because if you don't like the things that your partner does, then it doesn't really matter if you like your partner. I feel like it's not going to work. Because someone can be nice and sweet, but say they love to smoke and party a lot. Mm-hmm. So you can like them, but it's never going to work out, I don't think, if you don't like what they do. It was that new Zoe Kravitz show on Hulu. Did y'all see it? Mm-mm. So he had said that. He was like, he said you can like your partner, but if you don't like the same things, you're doomed. Well,
I mean, to me, it's one and the same. Liking your partner, liking what they do makes them them.
Not all the time, because like I just said, you can be nice and sweet, and that's something I fell in love with, but I don't like that you hang out every night.
For instance, let's say I like to party all the time, and I'm like, yo, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm out. I'm hitting the club. Mm-hmm. Or you invite me to church on Sunday. I'm like, I'm not going to church with you because she's going to the club on Saturday and I'm not waking up on Sunday to go with you. No, this is how you met me. This is how it is.
So you're saying the difference between character traits and things that you actually do.
Mm-hmm. I think that you should have some things in common.
Yeah, I think you have to have, And I think things in common matter.
Yeah, and if the things that they do you're not used to, you have to say, can I deal with this? Or can I not deal with this? Is this going to annoy me in the long run? Or am I going to be able to say, okay, cool. She wants to go to the club. He wants to go to the club sometimes. I'm not going to the club. I just want to stay home. Is that something I could deal with?
Right.
Well,
and I agree.
Well, that goes back to conversation, communication. A lot of things that put us in a make or break scenario derive around conversation. Just talking. What are you into? What do you do? Talking to them every day. Hey, it's a Friday night. You talk to them like usual. Hey, what you getting ready to do? Oh, me and so we getting ready to get up to go X, Y, and Z. You know their routines.
And just to go back to the beginning about like that talking stage, and I'm going to say females go wrong because I'm a female, we'll pretend like we like that stuff, you know, just to like, so we can seem like the cool girl or to get you to like us more.
Pick me.
And then later on, it's like a big issue. Like, but it's like nothing changed about the person.
Right.
It's just like you decided now.
You want to say that you don't like it.
Yeah, you want to say that.
Well, I think that's very unfair
and selfish.
I think it's very unfair and selfish. I think you need to be upfront when you first start, and be able to be honest enough, because this is why people spend a year with somebody not knowing if you want to get married. That's ridiculous. You should know after 6 months if you want to be married. Now, the question being is, after 6 months, when can you do that? But after 6 months, both parties should know, we're going to get married.
Right.
We need to figure out financially how we're going to do this, what kind of ring you like, how much is it going to cost me, are we doing a big wedding, are we doing a small wedding? After 6 months, that's the conversation you should be having. Now, there are some people who just like to just wing it. Because marriage, I've seen it now where more people are wanting to be married and they like the idea of marriage and family. Sadly to say, a percentage of those people are doing it because of social media.
They want the wedding, not necessarily the marriage. Excuse me.
So I think, when you come to it available, when both parties are available, when both parties are willing to be vulnerable up front, because people are afraid, and what they do is they inch along, and now you going 3 inches took us 4 months because you didn't want to be open and vulnerable.
But yet, so I think that they should be honest about the process.
Right.
And have those hard discussions.
Right.
Ask those hard questions, because that's only going to make you closer, and then the person gets to understand where you stand and what you want exactly.
Yeah. I told Carl our first date that I wasn't dating for years. And we went to go look at rings I think like 3 months into us dating. Ooh. We went to go look at rings.
Go Carl.
Right?
You my man.
Well, he had said it doesn't make sense. He said we might as well look at rings now, because why would we go look at rings when I'm closer to telling you, like closer to actually doing it, because then you know it's coming. So he said, let's just look at rings.
I agree.
Now.
That's smart. That's wise.
Mm-hmm. Woo woo.
Woo woo.
But I agree too. I think that especially at a certain age, it only takes a few months to know, like...
on the first date.
You think so?
Yeah. First conversation, hey.
But that's only if you're
him.
being honest and open. Mm-hmm. That's always the key factor. Because people get this honeymoon phase thing completely messed up.
Yeah.
Your honeymoon phase, people say, I want the honeymoon phase to last forever. That only happens when you're open and honest. Yeah. And then your honeymoon phase is that person.
Right.
Yeah. Aw. Right. That is a good caption.
You're so good, honey. Oh, can I say honey?
I'm going to write that down.
Yes.
They're whispering about should they say honey.
Yes. So that is a big thing. People will be like, oh, they fell off, or they wasn't doing what they was used to doing. It's because that wasn't really them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you want the good morning text, let that be part of what the person is. Some people honestly don't really want a good morning text every morning. But because so-and-so did it, you think that says that the person cares. And it doesn't always.
So let's go to that, because sometimes you get stuck into what the last person did, and then you're expecting it from the next person.
Which is unfair.
It is. So I would say that when you're taking a journey into a new relationship, that you should really study that person, the new person, forget everything that was before, and really get into the flow of what is now. Yeah.
I agree. And I think that goes into just how do you need to be loved.
But you got to know how you want to be loved. A lot of people don't know how they want to be loved.
The love languages.
That's true.
And if you don't know how you want to love, if you don't know how you want to be loved, how can you correctly love someone else?
Yes.
So, you got to know how you want to be loved.
And you know how you want to be loved?
I do.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can, if right now you can
tell you what I need?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Time, words of affirmation, and physical touch.
Wow. Right off the bat.
Woo, woo.
Timothy, what is your love language?
definitely words of affirmation, physical touch, and because I travel so much, I've learned the importance of time.
What was your first one?
Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation, physical touch, and time.
But I'm also a gift giver. May not be big gifts, but if I hear you, then I'm going to say, hey, look what I got.
I don't remember what mine are.
But I think, because, I'm giving this name Jonathan. Me and Jonathan were talking, and he was saying, like, at one point in his life, his list was different. And as he matured, his list changed.
Yeah.
So I think what you were looking for with one person, that's why I think it's key, like you said, to kind of do away with what was, because what you might have wanted and how you wanted it with that person is different now when you're older.
Yeah.
And when you're with another person. What I realize is a lot of people have spent their 20s with a person.
My God. Yeah.
A lot of people have. And when you look back, he's like, oh, shoot, I was with them for a little grip.
My God.
And all of those years you spend figuring out your do's and don'ts.
Right.
Now, when you get 30s, thank you, Jesus, for a good 31. When you get to that point, it's like, I don't really care for the foolishness.
Yeah.
I done figured out everything I don't want and I don't like. So I don't need 6 months before I can tell you that this ain't gonna work.
Before this conversation, I really didn't understand what you were saying when you said that, but now I have a clear understanding.
Yes.
Now I have
getting understandings in here.
Right.
Okay.
What was the sticky note? What was the sticky note? You listen to understand, not to respond. Deep. #Candida.
That is my sticky note.
That's why more than anything, I'm like, God, I need you. Like, it has to be, God needs to tell me this is my husband, because it's like, I'm going to have Carl, and I'm going to have Carl 2.0 when he's 40 or 45.
Right.
And I have to be willing to love Carl and then the Carl 2.0, because he's going to maybe want to be loved differently.
Right.
And so I think that's a lot of marriages fail in that part, because they was only wanting the first person and they wasn't willing,
to grow with a person.
To grow with them.
But so many people disconnect. It's not even funny. Like, I saw grandma and grandpa, and we was in the house talking, and I don't know if you ever told your podcast, but we have a very large family, 9 kids, and they was in the house talking. We were having a discussion, and grandpa started talking, and grandma interrupted him, and she said, oh, I'm sorry, baby, and she proceeded to say what she said. I realized how many older couples don't have that verbiage. Just a kind word of baby, sweetie, honey, all of that. They don't have. Hey, John, what you want to eat? That's the verbiage. And it's because they haven't grown together, understanding where they are in life at a certain point, of trying to develop a new level of love and care and compassion for each other. So I don't ever want to be complacent in love. Or this is just, what we doing because we married. We, especially in church, and I brought this up before in a meeting, and I said, I don't see no married people at our church feel like they in love. Y'all don't hold hands. Y'all don't sit next to each other. Y'all don't smooch. God created marriage. Why is it so wrong to see love?
But that's the new norm.
Not my norm.
Not my norm either.
The devil.
But that's the new norm.
Of not showing
love in a marriage, not having successful marriages, hiding your hurt, hiding your uncomfortability. That's the new norm. And I don't want a marriage like that. I've seen too many failed. I've seen too many people that just stay because I don't know why they stay. But I don't want that. I want real love. That real, like, I got you. love.
Like what's that name? What's the name? Aquaman and his wife.
I was gonna say Queen and Slim, which in theory, okay, the Queen and Slim type of love, but I'm like, I just didn't like how, like y'all just met in the diner, and now I'm gonna die for you.
Yeah, I don't want that love. No.
Hold on.
Not to get sidetracked, but it's just and they hated each other in the diner, so
yeah, I don't.
What they had one cool dance together, I think, and then
I never seen the movie.
So you didn't?
No.
It was so popular, but I think the storyline it was a little fragmented.
I didn't like
fragmented parts.
We could watch it.
Whatever.
You want to watch it?
Yeah, cause I never seen it.
Okay. I want to do it.
So I mean I think people just aren't genuine with their hearts anymore.
At all.
A lot of people just want to be with somebody because they don't want to be alone.
Yes.
That's how
Say
you
it again.
end up
Say it a little louder.
People just want to be with people
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
And people don't learn how to enjoy themselves alone because a lot of people don't like themselves. So you need somebody else to pair with to validate who you are as a person. And it's very unfitting. That's how you get people who are together for 13 years and you married by common law. How? How are you okay with y'all live together, y'all got kids together, y'all share all y'all bills, y'all share money, but y'all can't say I do. And some people try to go super deep in, I don't need a title. I don't need a title to say that I love you. If you love the person, what's the problem?
Yeah.
What's the problem? What it is not obligating yourself to saying I'm with this to the end gives you an out. You can always pick up and go. When you married, where we going? You mad? Or you going to your mother's house? Do she got an extra towel for me? Because we both going.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm not. Wait. You going for a drive? Okay. I'll sit in the back. Be the Uber driver. Because too many people.
Okay, now, I don't know.
No, give me a second. Let me walk with it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Because what happens is too many people walk out on problem solving. And you just keep walking. And when you come back to it, you just graze over it. And you don't fix. You don't talk. You don't express. You want some food?
Yeah, that's true.
That you want some food is a relationship killer. Cause that will graze over so much. And then what happens is one party is so accustomed to the fight that you get so tired. So now nothing is a conversation. Everything is a fight.
Yeah.
The moment, hey, baby, listen, what you did, I didn't really like that. Like, that hurt my feelings. In my older age, I've learned how to say things. Children, the interaction with children I find to be so powerful. Telling someone you hurt my feelings sounds childish to another adult. Hey, I just want to let you know you hurt my feelings. You sound like a kid. But it's a very profound, vulnerable statement.
Yeah.
Or, like you said, going back to asking somebody out. When you was a kid, see, nowadays, it's so much gray area. When you was a kid, you wrote the note. Do you like me, yes or no?
Right.
You wrote yes? Cool. We're going to see how to go for a week. Do you want to be my girlfriend? Check yes or no. After they check yes and you got the no back, next period, you was holding hands. You was holding, it wasn't no guess. You wasn't guessing. That's my girl, y'all. Nowadays, you don't ask. Because I finally binge watched the Love is Blind thing because you told me to and I missed the podcast.
Right.
But if you guys, only 2 of them, when they saw the woman, got on one knee and proposed.
Only 2?
Formally.
Oh, they did? Who? I know Cameron was one of
Cameron
them.
And the other guy.
And
the black dude.
No.
He
did
propose to Diamond.
He did. He got on one knee. It was 3 of them. And then the young boy.
Oh, the 24-year-old.
Mark.
Yes.
I liked him. Shorty, you real messed up for that. I know you ain't probably
Jessica.
gonna hit it.
Don't nobody like
but
Jessica.
you filed. But they were the only ones who really came back and formally said, will you marry me? Now, a lot of people kind of saw them as like, oh, I want a Cameron. But how many of y'all willing to compromise as much as she did?
Compromise with what?
She compromised. Remember, her biggest thing was, I'm pro-black. I'm pro-black.
Yeah.
I'm big black. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She compromised a whole cultural status because she said, I feel like this man is going to treat me X, Y, and Z. A lot of people aren't willing to compromise. There's a difference between compromising and then changing character traits. You shouldn't be trying to change the person that you're with. You should be trying to better the person that you're
Right.
with.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel like you find yourself changing them,
Right.
that's not the person for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're perfect just the way they are for somebody else. You sitting through it and trying to change them is messing up the perfect person for somebody else. Don't try to change people. Yeah, if you find that there's compromises or when you have conversation and it's like, hey, listen, I like you. And the person's like, oh, like I know for me, right? There are areas that I want to grow in. Mm-hmm. So when I'm talking to my woman and she's like, oh, well, we could do that different. We could do that different. Right? That's me acknowledging that that's an area I need to grow in. Mm-hmm. And she wants me to be better. Mm-hmm. Not she's trying to change who I am.
Verbiage is also a key in that as well.
Very key. Where's the cat? So I think not enough. Oh wow, freaking me out. So not enough people acknowledge those things and they overshadow it.
Yeah.
So they don't. A lot of times it's just sit down at the table and have the conversation. Learn how to talk to somebody. Social media has made it so difficult for people to learn how to sit down and talk. Mm-hmm. Talk. Have a conversation. Figure out what makes them tick.
Without phones.
Without phones.
No distractions. Just sit down and talk.
Hey, what is it? I hate seeing a group of people and everybody's on their phone and y'all at the table together. Y'all ain't got nothing to talk about. Y'all ain't got nothing to laugh about.
I also think it's just, I think it's unfair. Like I said, I'm going to keep using as a woman as an example. But if a woman will, during the dating and fiance phase, putting up with something the way the person is because, I don't know, I guess because they want to be married so bad. Mm-hmm. And then allowing that to be an issue once you get married. So, for example, he's not romantic enough. If he wasn't romantic when you guys were dating and that was your fiance, I think it's unfair of you to now be like, well, we're married, so you need to be romantic now. Because that's not how, I don't think marriage is like once you say I do, some magical switch that now the person is going to be everything that you want.
Right.
So I think a lot of issues comes with that too, that the person is like, okay, I've dealt with it for this long. So now we're married, all of a sudden you need to be those things. You knew I wasn't that.
Right.
So I don't, because people will be like, okay, well now it's the other, if your husband or your wife is unhappy with that now, is your responsibility. Do you think it is their responsibility to now change? If they were already like that and did not give any indication, they did not say, once we're married, I'm going to change. They didn't say that, because then that's a totally different conversation, which I still think is silly for the person to go into it, because you shouldn't really go off words. But just say, for the sake of this conversation, they never said, once we get married, I'm going to change. They weren't romantic, or they weren't attentive or caring or talkative, whatever it is. They weren't like that when you guys were dating and fiance. So do you think they now have a responsibility when they're married because they see their partner's upset? Or do you think their partner, the one who has an issue, just needs to get over it?
Get over it, because you already married the person. They were truthful in showing you who they are. Yeah. So forced love is never good love.
Right.
Don't nobody want no forced love.
That was good.
But so here's the controversial
right
part of this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Disclaimer, we are Christians. We believe that you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. But
True.
with that same example, say now you refrain from having sex before marriage.
Okay.
And then you get married.
Okay.
Trash.
And they're trash. And they say, now there's one thing. You cannot be someone's particular taste, right? And they tell you, you have a healthy conversation. Hey, babe, woo, woo, right? Is it their responsibility now to try and be that?
Not trash?
What you're claiming you miss.
I mean, you can always take classes for that.
Okay, what's your question? Is it what?
If say a person is more reserved, conservative.
Okay.
Right?
Conservative or low desire? That's the actual term, like sexual term.
Let's say conservative. Right? Say a person is more conservative.
Okay.
Right? But you've never gone there because, you don't, that's not what y'all were doing. Y'all chose to sustain until marriage. Mm-hmm. But they're a conservative person in that regard.
Right.
Then you get married and it's like, okay, here we go. And they're like, no, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Because they're low, because they're not desiring it, or because they're nervous about having sex. Because it's a difference between being low desire, meaning that's a person who just doesn't desire sex that much, and it has nothing to do with their attraction towards the person.
Yeah.
Their sexual drive is just super low. Or are you saying conservative, like we're doing this one position only at home, lights off. They're like that, but the other person is what? Freaky?
More spontaneous, let's keep the spice alive. But then the other person's like, no, we have to be in the room and the lights have to be off and the covers have to be on, and that's the only way I feel comfortable. Or that's the only way I want to. Is it on them now to have to say, well, you got to change?
Well, that goes into it's because I listen to other podcasts, and it's not called sexual doctor, that's not the right term, but a therapist who deals with sex things. She was saying that usually when a woman is or when a person is not into sex as much, it's usually because they have certain things that they've experienced that makes them that way. Mm-hmm. She said usually it's like a trust thing, or just a different experience in their life that makes them act that way. Whatever way they're acting, it's because of an experience. And she said then the partner comes in who's the opposite of them, and it's your job to build up those other things to make the person more comfortable to do that.
Okay, so that's a logical standpoint, but now what happens if it's the low desire thing?
That you're just not into it as much? Did y'all have this conversation before marriage, or no, y'all didn't talk about it?
Good point.
Give both scenarios. One scenario, we talked about it, and they got everything else.
But if you talk about it, then you're like a step ahead, because then you know.
But then now, if you talked about it, is it the person that asked the question to say, listen, I got to deal with this because they did tell me that they really don't want to? Or is it the other person? But and the reason why I'm asking is not from a physical perspective. It's from an emotional one. Mm-hmm. It's not about just talking about hunching, and that's what the focal point is. But one of the leading causes of divorce is sex and money.
I wrote that in my paper.
So my thing now is, it's not about just the physical. I'm not bringing it up from a physical perspective. But now if you can't engage with them on a level playing field to feel like, because now you're obligating yourself to this person for the rest of your lives. I'm not cheating. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not watching. You all I got. You my whole. So I'm trying to now engage with you in the highest level of intimacy that I can possibly find physically. and I can't connect with you?
I think that if you had the conversation beforehand, before marriage, and you knew that your partner is low desire and you're high desire, then I think from the time you should be taking steps, like I said, to see like a sexual therapist or whatever, taking the steps to be like, okay, well, how can we meet in the middle type of thing. I think that you also need to be understanding. I don't think it's fair to be like, well, this is how I am, and I don't care how you are.
Right.
And that just goes into like a respect thing. Like, even if I'm low desire and my partner is high desire, I want them to be, or at least you want them to be happy and pleased.
Right.
So if you really love them and you respect them, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of times like you're having sex and you don't really feel like it.
Right. Right. No, that's true.
So I think it's just both responsibility. It's the person who's high desire. I think it's their responsibility to be like, well, why are you low desire? What does it take? Maybe they take like a ton of foreplay, or just like a ton of like, I gotta swoosh this person. Like, I gotta really date them, take them out to get them in the mood. Like, don't be like, I don't need to do no extra work. You just need to be into it. No, you gotta put in the steps too to get them to that point. But the other person has to also be like, I'm going to make the effort to be into it.
Right. Because, I mean, ultimately, and I say this again, to go back to the same point, is about communication.
Right.
It's all about the conversation. You have the conversation to be able to open up. And what I realized in life and in this journey in dating and the road to marriage is that communication is a huge make or break.
Yeah.
Just talking it out. Even if you're refraining from it until marriage, you still need to have a conversation, because a lot of times we were told, don't speak on it. You have to.
Yeah.
Because if not, then you're gonna get to the altar with all this other stuff in play, not realizing how big of a factor that is for you. Because then you find yourself, your eyes start wandering. Then you find yourself watching TV. Oh, they so handsome. Oh, he watching the football game. Oh, you see they little tight things that they wear. What's that called, baby? That's where you start to get those things into play.
So true.
And that's a problem. So I just think the communication to be able to say what it is and what it's not. You don't have to dwell on it, because everybody's threshold is different. But at least to have an understanding that this is where the person is will allow for a better playing field in love. Because that is a factor.
Right.
People who try to say it's not a factor.
What, sex?
Yeah. Well, I would say more so intimacy than just sex.
Yeah, intimacy and sex are two different things.
Yeah.
So, and some people get that misunderstood, because some people are having sex and some people feel like they making love.
Yeah, so true.
So now you on two different sides of the spectrum. So by the time y'all done, and this goes back to what you were saying about how, can a woman do what a man does? Because you fall into that mode of, I'm going to stick with this, or I'm going to deal with him because I feel like it'll get better later. So now you lay down with him and you feel like I'm making love. Girl, oh my gosh. He looked me in my eyes.
So true.
And he just got up and went about his way. And there comes a disconnect, and that's how hurt people become hurt people. And you really get a broken heart, and then you resent love. And what it means to really try. And then that's where I can see where a person becomes low desire. This person broke my heart using this tool. So now I can't use that tool. I don't like that tool. That tool doesn't make me feel good anymore.
Yeah. That was deep. That's a breakthrough for somebody.
That makes sense.
Go ahead, therapist Walker. Okay.
You could. Someone's delete us. Just good stuff.
You guys, this was such good conversation.
Well, this is great conversation. Next time I have food.
I had food, but I think the chicken was old. So I literally cooked it and just threw it away.
Give a health fact. How long do you feel like is a good length to have unthawed chicken?
Honestly, only a couple days. I think because I had it in there for like a week and it just smells weird. And I don't know if
the
it was
bacteria grew on it. So
COVID all in the air. I just think it's best.
2 days that you should leave it.
Health fact number 2. Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, just a couple days. All right, you guys, this was such an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We'll be back next week.
So, inquiring minds want to know, is this a friendship? Are you guys dating? Are you in the talking stage? Are we courting? What level are we guys at?
I'm going to let you answer.
Wow, you better answer correctly.
Wow. We are dating.
Okay, you're dating.
We are dating.
Which is different from courting, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so you're dating.
We have to tell me what courting is. What is courting? I've never used that terminology before.
So courting is like with the very clear intention that I am trying to marry you, if I'm correct.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, actually, according to, I don't know. According to like when we've had dating panels at our church, Christians don't, this is according to the conversation that was had, Christians don't date, we court. And they say that because dating, they explained it that dating is the world's way of messing around, kind of like, just to put it in easy terms, because when you're dating, it's just like you're giving so much of yourself to random people, like to multiple people.
Gotcha.
And courting is more of, I am in a place that I can get married and I'm meeting someone with the intention of getting married.
Well, I mean, at this point in life, I'm not going around dating because I just feel like, kind of been there, done that.
Well, from what I heard, I think you guys are courting, but I'm just going to let you guys say you're dating.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, if you want to use that definition, yes, you would say yes, we're courting. Dating is just not, like I said, just no, according to that definition.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
All right, this was cool. Thanks so much. I appreciate you guys coming. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Be well. Stay indoors. 6 feet away. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.